You're either building their dream or yours. There is no middle. But for years, I told myself that I was doing the right thing in corporate life, giving my all, plugging into that system, doing good for my family. But deep down, maybe like you, I knew something was off. Now, on paper, I had tons of success. The title, the paycheck, the great provider role. I could say, hey, family, look at all the great things I'm providing for you, the occasional vacations, the nice house. Everything from the outside looked great, but it felt wrong. It wasn't my dream, and it was the system's dream. I didn't know any different at that point, but I started to feel it on the inside, all of these personal costs of just working on someone else's dream. Again, which is all I knew at the time was plugging into good systems, doing good work, getting good returns, financial and otherwise, even prestige, right? But all those costs of all types started to add up. The constant travel every week across the world, living on anxiety medications, feeling like I wasn't a part of my kids' young lives. Eventually, that led to my marriage breaking down and we got divorced. I called it noble. I thought it was. I had that provider mentality. When I saw my packed schedule, I would wear it with pride. I would say, look how busy I am. Look how many little items are on my calendar each day. It looked like Skittle vomit with all the little pieces and color codings and things that were happening. It was kind of silly looking back. But in slow motion, what was happening was self abandonment. The more I gave into that, the more I lost myself. And then I lost those other things like precious time with my kids. The marriage fell apart. And then ultimately, my health was just on the brink. Now, there was something that changed everything for me when I started to change the trajectory of my career and life forever. And that's when I joined my first entrepreneurial mastermind. I can't even tell you why I did it. I just had this instinct that I needed to be around these people, thinking like them, acting like them. I'd never met an entrepreneur in my life. I thought they were either Elon Musk on the high side or like a mom and pop store owner at Main Street on the low side. But I didn't see myself on anything else. This was almost a decade ago. But when I got in that room, quarter after quarter with these people, I was the only corporate person. But what I saw them was living full lives. They were building their own thing, not something that they're plugging into, but their own thing of their own design, of their own dream to enable the life they wanted, the impact they wanted, the family life they wanted, the income they wanted. There was this electric energy in those rooms when I would go there. I would fly to Toronto every quarter and be in the rooms with these coaches and business owners. And I felt so out of place, a true fish out of water. But I knew this is where I was meant to be. I couldn't let go of that inner voice. And this electric energy brought me more presence, more purpose. And I started to feel like I was becoming something more than I was. And I started to realize there is no middle ground. There's no you building a little bit of someone else's dream, you building a little bit of your dream. It's one or the other. And I had to make this very sharp shift for myself to say, even though I have a corporate job, it is in service of, it is fueling my dream. I saw it as a tool. I started to make it secondary, a supporting thing. In my mind, my day job was my side business. And the business I was meant to figure out was my main business, my main thing. So if you're still in corporate right now, that's fine. If it's in service of your dream. And again, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't want something bigger, true ownership, something of your own design. So it's okay to be giving hours to something else if it's in service of your dream. And you know that in your heart, but you also reserve your best energy week after week, day by day to put effort to building your dream, whatever that might be. It's this whole I'll figure it out later. I just got to grind for this season, grind for these years in the corporate job where years zip by and you're living full of regret. You don't want to be in that state. It's either you are building your dream, full stop, 100%, or you are building their dream, 100%. And it's easy to say what their dream is. You're just plugging into the system, playing a role like a cog in a machine. You know that. Again, you feel that viscerally, I'm sure. Figuring out your dream, that's a whole process. I'm not going to pretend to unpack that because it's different for everyone, but it's usually some combination of how are you spending your time? What does purpose mean to you? What does impact mean to you? What kind of money are you making? What kind of work does that look like on a daily basis? Who are you working with? Who are you serving? What does your family life look like? All of that comes to life in your dream. What's your travel situation? Again, we have to know where we're going from a big life vision to say, how does work enable that? How do you build your uncaged life? Well, you got to make sure the work vehicle or multiple of them is in support of that life. Now, this is where the idea of corporate graduation comes into, because we're not going to do something stupid when you've got a family and all these big life responsibilities. You can't just quit blindly. You need to reclaim ownership with structure, with assertiveness, but quickly, decisively, not incrementally, but bold moves well done within the environments you're in. So, like, for example, if you're working 12-hour days and it's just destroying you from a mental space on nights and weekends too, like, we need to cut that out. We need to detach emotionally. We need to compress the hours spent. We need to be creative with the hours spent, making sure you and your family are getting your best energy and the job gets a compressed amount of time and energy. You got to create space in your life. You got to detach from this environment so that at some point you can release the paycheck, or if they, God forbid, release it for you, you're in a